The lights of the luxury restaurant glimmered against the city's skyline. Billionaire CEO Richard Hale sat at his private table, impatiently scrolling through his phone. Every waiter trembled around him, except one. A young black waitress, Maya, approached with quiet grace and calm eyes that didn't flinch before power. "Your usual steak, sir?" she asked softly. He barely looked up. "Just make sure it's perfect. I don't tolerate mistakes." But as she turned to leave, her eyes flicked toward the woman sitting opposite him. His wife, who forced a strained smile, hiding something dark beneath her polished charm. Maya returned to the kitchen, but her heart raced. She had seen that woman before, not here, not in any restaurant, but in a photo that had been tucked in a police file when Maya used to volunteer at a community center. A missing employee from Hale Enterprises, the one who had vanished after exposing financial fraud. Abrifer, she swallowed hard. Could it really be the same woman? The same eyes, the same faint scar above her eyebrow. Maya knew something wasn't right. As she plated the billionaire's steak, a perfectly seared cut glistening under the kitchen lights, she slipped a small folded note under the napkin beside his glass. Her hand trembled, but her expression stayed composed. When she walked away, her coworker whispered, "What are you doing, Maya? You'll lose your job." Maya's voice was steady, but her eyes told a story of courage. Some truths are worth more than paychecks. The billionaire Mr. Hale adjusted his cufflinks and took a sip of wine, unaware of the message hidden beside his plate. The dining hall buzzed with quiet luxury. Chandeliers glowing, silverware chiming softly, and business elites exchanging polite laughter. A brew. He unfolded the napkin absent-mindedly, and the note fluttered out. His brow furrowed as he picked it up. Abroui, in delicate handwriting it read, "Your wife isn't who she says she is. Check her past, before it's too late." Gebrch. His hand froze midair. The words hit him like a thunderclap. He looked up slowly, scanning the room, searching for whoever might have left it. His wife was chatting animatedly with the guests, all grace and confidence. He folded the note again, tucking it into his pocket, pretending nothing happened. But inside, his pulse quickened. Who was that waitress, and how could she possibly know? After dinner, the billionaire slipped away from the table, his polished shoes echoing down the marble corridor. He pulled the note out again, reading it under the soft glow of a wall sconce. The handwriting was feminine, careful, deliberate. Whoever wrote it, what they were doing. He turned sharply toward the kitchen. The staff froze as he entered, the kind of man whose very presence made people nervous. His eyes scanned the room, searching until they landed on her. The black waitress from earlier standing quietly near the counter, wiping glasses. "You," he said, voice low but commanding. "Did you serve my table?" Calm but cautious. "Yes, sir." He stepped closer. "You slipped me something, a note." Her jaw tightened, "because you needed to know." Kibru the billionaire narrowed his eyes. "Know what?" She took a slow breath. "That the woman sitting beside you ruined more lives than you can imagine, including mine." Bricka's silence filled the room. Even the kitchen fans seemed to go quiet. The billionaire's expression hardened, disbelief mixed with confusion. He took another step closer, lowering his voice. "What are you talking about?" he demanded. "Do you know who you're accusing?" The waitress didn't flinch. Her name tag read Amira. Her dark eyes were steady, full of quiet pain. "I know exactly who she is," Amira said. "Your wife, Layla Al-Zahir. She used to own the textile factory on the outskirts of Doha." The billionaire frowned. "That factory shut down years ago." Amira nodded. "Yes. After she refused to pay her workers for months, my mother worked there, until the day she collapsed on the factory floor. No ambulance came, no one helped. She died waiting for her last paycheck." The billionaire's grip on the note trembled slightly. "You're lying," he muttered. "Layla wouldn't." "I have proof," Amira interrupted, her voice rising for the first time. "That note you hold, it's not just a warning, it's a confession she signed herself." The room fell into stunned silence. Every waiter, every chef, every cleaner had stopped pretending to work. They all stared, wide-eyed. The billionaire slowly unfolded the note again, but this time, His hands weren't steady anymore. As the billionaire's eyes scanned the trembling lines of ink, his lips parted, the color drained from his face. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't blackmail. It was a photocopy of a handwritten letter, signed by his wife Layla. I did what I had to. The factory collapse wasn't my fault. They were warned. I only wanted the insurance money to fix what my husband broke. Ibra, his breath caught. The restaurant's low hum disappeared. Even the flicker of candlelight seemed to freeze. He looked up at Amira, voice breaking slightly. Brr, where did you get this? Brr, Amira's jaw clenched. From my mother's locker. The day after she died, someone sent it to our home. No name, no return address. I kept it, waiting for the right moment. The billionaire sank into the chair, his world crumbling under the weight of the truth. Memories flashed. The sudden wealth, the strange way Layla avoided questions about the factory, her nervousness whenever someone from the old staff called. He whispered, almost to himself. She told me it was an accident. She told me. Amira cut in softly. Sir, your wife built her empire on the bodies of women like my mother. The note fluttered from his hand and landed on the pristine tablecloth, a single tear smudging the ink. The restaurant fell into a silence so heavy it felt alive. The billionaire, Sheikh Zahir Al-Masri, sat motionless, his reflection trembling in the silver cutlery. He finally lifted his gaze to Amira, voice hoarse, fragile. Hey, Breyu, you could have destroyed me with this. Why bring it to me now? Amira's eyes didn't waver. Because my mother believed that truth, even when it hurts, must still be spoken with honor. I didn't come here to destroy you, Sheikh Zahir. I came here to give you a chance to face it. Her words struck him harder than any accusation. For the first time in decades, he wasn't the man in control. He gestured for the other waiters to leave. Everyone out. Now. The staff vanished instantly, leaving only him, the note, and the young woman who carried the ghost of justice in her tone. Zahir rose slowly, walking to the tall glass window overlooking Dubai's golden skyline. His voice cracked. I remember your mother, Fatima, wasn't it? She was kind. She always smiled even when others didn't notice her. Amira nodded faintly. She smiled because she thought kindness could change hearts like yours. Zahir turned, pain etching every line of his face. And did it? Amira looked him straight in the eyes. It's not too late to prove her right. Her words lingered in the air, soft but unshakable, like a verdict waiting for his soul to answer. Zahir didn't move for a long while. His reflection stared back at him. The powerful man who had built empires yet left wreckage in human hearts. He felt something unfamiliar stirring inside, guilt. Heavy and suffocating. Finally, he turned toward Amira, his voice low. What do you want from me? Amira took a deep breath. Not money, not pity. I want you to remember the people who made you, the ones you stepped on to climb higher. I want you to build something real, something that repairs what you broke. Zahir's hand trembled slightly as he picked up the note again. It wasn't just paper anymore, it was a mirror, reflecting every hidden sin, every ignored truth. He asked quietly, What happened to your mother? Amira's eyes glistened, but her voice stayed steady. She died cleaning rooms in the very hotel you own. No compensation, no recognition, not even a word of thanks. But she left me something. Dignity. The words hit him like a hammer to the chest. For the first time, the billionaire's pride fractured, revealing a man who once believed power could erase the past. He pressed his hand to his forehead, whispering, All this wealth, and I couldn't even remember her name. Amira's expression softened just a little. Then remember it now. The night air seeped through the glass as Zahir whispered almost to himself, Fatima, I remember. And for the first time, his voice carried not command, but remorse. The next morning, headlines buzzed across Dubai. Not about Sheikh Zahir's business empire, but about something no one expected. The billionaire had announced a massive new foundation, the Fatima Hope Initiative, dedicated to funding education and housing for underprivileged workers and their families, the same workers his empire had ignored for decades. In the hotel lobby, journalists swarmed, but Zahir didn't speak to the cameras. He only stood silently beside Amira, the young woman who had forced him to face the truth. He turned to her and said quietly, "This world taught me to chase power. You reminded me what real power is." Amira blinked back tears. Real power is when you use it to lift others, not bury them. Later, as the crowds thinned, Zahir handed her an envelope. A scholarship and ownership papers for her mother's small apartment, which had been taken long ago. "Ibrahim, this belongs to you," he said softly. "And if your mother were here, I think she would have forgiven me. I hope one day you can too." Amira's eyes lowered to the papers, not with greed, but with disbelief. "Forgiveness," she said quietly, "isn't something you buy. It's something you earn, step by step." Zahir nodded slowly, humbled. "They'll earn it." As she turned to leave, the desert wind swept through the lobby, carrying the faint scent of jasmine, Fatima's favorite perfume. And for the first time in years, Sheikh Zahir smiled, not as a billionaire, but as a man beginning again. Wealth can build walls taller than cities, walls that keep truth, guilt, and humanity out. Sheikh Zahir's empire was built on those very walls, until one brave woman's daughter walked through with nothing but truth in her hand. In the end, it wasn't gold, power, or fear that broke him. It was conscience. A simple handwritten note did what years of success never could. It reminded him that riches mean nothing if your soul is bankrupt. Amira didn't come seeking revenge. She came carrying her mother's dignity, the kind of strength that can't be bought or silenced. She showed that even those at the bottom can stand taller than kings when they speak with courage. Ibrahim and the billionaire, he learned that redemption doesn't begin with grand gestures or public donations. It begins in silence. In the moment you admit, "I was wrong." No matter how powerful you are, there will always come a day when truth finds you, in a note, in a face, or in the reflection of someone you once ignored. When that moment comes, don't turn away. Because forgiveness is not weakness. It is rebirth, power, luxury, and pride. They often blind the human heart long before the eyes ever close. Sheikh Zahir had everything a man could want: the tallest towers, the fastest cars, the rarest wines, and the loyalty of people who only feared him. Yet, despite all his riches, his soul had gone silent. It took the trembling hand of a waitress and a single folded note to remind him what true wealth really was. That note wasn't made of paper. It was made of courage, written in the ink of pain and truth. It pierced through the marble and gold, through the decades of arrogance, through the armor that money had built around his conscience, because no matter how high you climb, the truth always finds its way up. Amira's mother, Fatima, had once served quietly in the shadows, unseen, unheard, unremembered. She represented every soul who works without thanks, every worker who sacrifices dignity to feed their children, every heart that endures injustice with silent grace. And when Amira stood before that billionaire, she carried not revenge, but her mother's legacy, proof that kindness never truly dies, even when crushed under the heel of greed. The world often glorifies those who conquer empires, but history remembers those who conquer themselves. Sheikh Zahir's redemption began not in a press conference, not in a charity check, but in a whisper of guilt and a tear he didn't hide. For the first time he looked in the mirror and saw not a mogul but a man, broken, flawed, capable of healing. His empire changed that day, not because he expanded it, but because he expanded his heart. He learned that power without compassion is just cruelty with better clothes, and Amira reminded him that forgiveness is not something the strong offer the weak. It is something the brave offer the lost. Her forgiveness wasn't easy. It wasn't instant, but it was real. It came with honesty, not hate, with dignity, not despair. And that's the kind of forgiveness that changes the world, the kind that teaches even the mightiest man that humility is the highest form of strength. So, when people speak of Zahir Al-Masri now, they don't just mention his billions. They mention the Fatima Hope Foundation, the scholarships, the rebuilt homes, and the quiet smile of a man who once believed money could silence guilt. And somewhere, in the unseen winds of Dubai, the scent of jasmine still lingers, a sign that love, justice, and remembrance are stronger than time, stronger than pride, stronger than gold. True power isn't in commanding others. It's in transforming yourself. Wealth fades, towers crumble, and names are forgotten. But the echoes of compassion, the ripples of courage, and the legacy of one honest act endure beyond lifetimes. Be the person who chooses truth over comfort, forgiveness over revenge, and humanity over ego, because in the end, it's not your bank balance that defines your worth. It's the balance between your heart and your deeds.